Oh, thank you all so much. How's the mic? We okay? Look, I need a moment to absorb, and I'm so glad that she's saying that because it so ties into everything I want to talk about today. And thank you all for welcoming me, and it's such a pleasure to be able to speak with you, though you don't get to speak. The energy is there. It's always a give and take and a back and forth, and I need that as well. So my house, my rules. Who's heard that before? Who's said it before? Either out loud or in your head. My house, my rules. Now here's the tricky question, and I want you to take a second to think about it. Who's still living that? Who's still living that my house, my rules that you were taught as a child? Who's still living that my house, my rules that you picked up and accepted because that's what happens in your family? Who's still living my house, my rules because of where you work and who's your boss? See, my house, my rules doesn't always have to do with our upbringing and our parents and what we were taught as children. It can be a government thing, it could be a job thing, it could be a society thing that we've accepted. And what happens is we say this rule, this idea called a rule, over and over and over again, and we absorb it and we live it, even if it brings junk into our lives. We have things like, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too tall. These kind of things don't happen to people in my family. No one ever gets past this illness called XYZ. All kinds of phrases and ideas are flowing through our minds that we're accepting because we bought into my house, my rules. The medical community says XYZ, so I accept that. My parents taught me that I'm stupid, so I accept that, even if they don't say those words. And all those things are actually facts. You know that? All those things that we accept and we live are facts. But they're not the truth. Do we get the difference? They're facts because we accept them and we experience them and we are bringing them into our lives, but they are not the truth. They're only facts because we make them so. Because we are playing by these house rules that we've accepted that have nothing to do with us except for the fact that we've accepted these. So let's talk about business and age. Most people think, by a certain age, if I haven't started this job or this career or that career, here comes McDonald's. Here comes at Walmart. Dr. Juan Enriquez, a renowned Harvard researcher and TED Fellow, has found that the average age of the successful startup founder is 54 years old. Now, mind you, a lot of those people at 54 years old or around that age have been in businesses before. But to start over at 54 in a new career from nothing, pretty much, raising capital, doing all the marketing, getting all the people around you, that's a lot of work, yes? Did you know that Grandma Moses, everybody know who Grandma Moses was? She was a famous painter. She didn't even start painting till she was 78 years old and had a whole other career that brought her fame. I have a friend who could have thought, you know what, I'm young, I'm disadvantaged in that I'm young and I don't know how to start a business, and I'm in a foreign country. And this friend of mine decided, no, I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm not going to let that stop me that I'm not in my own country. She was from the United States, but she wasn't living in the United States. I don't know how to start a business, but this is what I want to do, so I'll figure it out. She became, very quickly and for many years, because of knowing and stepping past this my house, my rules, my house, I don't know how to do this, my house, I don't even live in this country, I'm not even a citizen of this country. She became the exclusive florist for the offices of Vogue magazine, boutiques in Harrods and Harvey Nichols department stores, which are, everybody pretty much knows who Harrods is, but Harvey Nichols is a high-class department store that you would find like in Beverly Hills. Gucci, and of course, Jimmy Choo. She was the florist for these high-class offices in London, England. Not just anywhere, London. And she flourished, no pun intended. She flourished, but she didn't know what to do. She didn't know how to run a business. She didn't even live there. She was there on a visa. And I'm going to brag a little bit, and it's because it's my partner. Patty did that. And you can do that too. I want to read you a story that goes along with this. It's by a guy named Dave Anderson, Dave W. Anderson. He graduated bottom of his class. He was a minority in that he was a Native American and had to go to school for some reason, I'm not sure why, on Native American grounds, where unfortunately some of the quality of schooling is not so great. He went through 2 bankruptcies in his life. So, boy, lacked consciousness. He was an alcoholic. And he didn't know what to do with his life. So he thought about it. He kind of looked into his life and said, well, you know, what's going on? And he realized 2 different things. He realized, one, his biggest letdown in all of this, now mind you, this guy's in his late 30s now, at that time. His biggest letdown was himself constantly projecting failure and thinking negatively of his chances of succeeding, as well as blaming everyone and everything else for his misfortunes. And number 2, that life was not just about himself. And this is where the secret comes in, or the power comes in. It's not a secret. We all know it. We just haven't brought it out. So I try not to use that word secret. That is some rule that I picked up. So he realized that life was not just about himself, and he said, when I got sober, I realized that if I surrendered myself to being Dave Anderson, and if I stopped focusing on me, my life would be so much rewarding. By putting others first and using my talents, skills, hard work, and my creation of excellent product and services to the total devotion of obsessively making others happy, I would never have to worry about a paycheck again. This was startling revelation for me. So he realized that by giving service, he was able to step away from those rules he learned that as a minority and bottom of his class and had mistakes in his business life and his financial life and having an addiction. by getting past that, he could do this. In 1994, at age 41, he turned his passion of barbecue sauce into a successful business. Now, the funny thing about this is he started his first barbecue sauce store in a town of 1,800 people, mostly Norwegians and Swedes, not known for their barbecue loving, in a town called Hayward, Wisconsin. And now, 20 years later, he doesn't even work the business. He's written a book and he goes and does motivational speaking, but his business goes on and now brings in, 20 years later, $500 million a year. It's called Famous Dave's Barbecue. He's won more awards than most prestigious restaurants in big cities around the world. And he has created, which I'm sure he's most proud of, 22,000 jobs. Now, you might have seen this guy in Oprah, but in the song, the beautiful song, Nadine sang, and Stephen Schwartz, Rabbi Stephen Schwartz, I would call him, wrote, "Something has changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game. Someone else's game, someone else's rules, called age, called health, called money, called creative expression. I am tired of living somebody else's rules. Because it's my house." Yes? So these ideas of I can't, I shouldn't, I couldn't, I won't, I don't have time, I don't have the talent, I don't have the money, I don't have the prettiness. All of that is BS, yes? And I mean BS in the small BS and the big BS, which of course is belief system. But like Joselito said, this all comes around because of habit of thought. So now I want to give you a little definition from a neuroscientist, Dr. Sarah McKay. There'll be a test on this later, but I'm going to say this very quickly and explain to you where habit comes from. Your brain's coordination center for habits is called the striatum, which is located deep beneath the cortex where it forms part of the basal ganglia. The striatum is richly connected to the prefrontal cortex, involved in higher order thinking, feeling, and sensing, and to the midbrain. The midbrain provides input from dopamine-containing neurons, brain cells. Dopamine, yay dopamine, is a brain chemical strongly associated with creating positive feelings related to reward and events of emotional significance. As you repeat a negative statement over and over and over and over again to yourself, neurons in the prefrontal striatal midbrain circuit, who knew we had one, fire together over and over. The connections between neurons become strengthened, and eventually the circuit wires together, storing the thought as a habit. Turning a thought into enduring habit is brain plasticity in action. Once the negative self-talk habit is stored, another brain region, the infralimbic cortex, causes you to carry out the habit when you are triggered by a particular cue, situation, or event. Now, neuroscientists are very cute, and they have little sayings that neurons that fire together, wire together. Now, I know I said that very fast, and I didn't really necessarily mean for you to understand everything that happened, although she wrote that as sort of a make it easy for us, sort of a dummy down kind of explanation of what happens scientifically to what's going on to the brain. But as I have said before, and that you hear in one way or another, what she's actually saying is thoughts plus feelings equals beliefs, and beliefs create your experience. So finally, science, because they have to prove it chemically or electronically somehow, has stepped up and caught up to what not just new thought, ancient wisdom has been saying for thousands of years. Thoughts plus feelings equals beliefs. So whose rules are you here to follow? Now, I'm not talking about laws here. Don't go around and when you get arrested for breaking the law, say, well, Reverend Jay said that my house, my rules. Now, I'm not talking about laws. I'm talking about your beliefs that turns into your experiences. And don't tell them in divorce court when you misinterpret what I'm saying and walk into your marriage and go, my house, my rules. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm through accepting limits, the song says, because someone says they're so. So we got to change our habits. So how do we change our habits? Dr. Sarah McKay wrote in this article about, she realized that she didn't feel like she was a good mother, a good parent. And oddly enough, she realized that thought came to her when she opened the dishwasher door. Because her idea of changing a habit is realizing when this habit shows up, when this thought shows up. We have to be mindful. We have to find the trigger. Be mindful of what's happening in your life. And she realized, for some reason, she connected the act of opening the dishwasher at the end of the day, I presume, to put the dishes in, that she didn't feel like she was a good parent. So that was the moment where she could start changing that habit. I am a good mother. I do the right things. I am here as a loving, kind, supporting spirit in my family's life. Not just her children, but her family's life. And she just kept affirming that over and over again until she started believing that. And of course, believing that changed her actions, changed the experiences around her. But the point is not just to keep affirming things over and over again. You need to put feelings behind it. How does that feel? What is that? What did that mean to her in emotions, in sight, in sound, in smell? What did being a good mother smell like? It's a full experience. It's not just words and intellectual exercise. It's a full experience. You use your entire body and all your senses. And that connects feelings to these thoughts, to these intellectual thoughts. That connects your heart and your gut, your intuition and your imagination into these thoughts so that they embed in your cells. It's time to trust my instincts, close my eyes and leap. So what are we looking for? Passion. What is your passion? Not just your vocation, not just your hobby, not just your woodworking. What is your passions, I should say, in life? A great story. That's good, that bag. What are your passions? Fiber, yeah. Your passions in life. I want to tell this quick story. You might have read this if you've read Norman Cousins' book, Anatomy of an Illness. Or you're a fan of Tony Robbins. He likes to tell this story too. Pablo Casals. Norman Cousins, Dr. Norman Cousins, he went to visit and meet. He actually went to meet Pablo Casals, who was a famous cellist. If you don't know that, he was a virtuoso cellist. Now, by that time, Pablo Casals was about 92. He was humped over, he was arthritic, and he was emphysemic in his breathing. So here it is, very early in the morning, and Pablo Casals' much younger wife brings him into the room, and he's, like I said, he's humped over, and his hands are kind of, and he's breathing. And so there's pleasantries, nice to meet you and stuff. And then as his usual habit, Pablo Casals sits at the piano. Now, Pablo Casals was a pianist as well as a famous cellist and other instruments as well. So he sat down at the piano and he breathed for a moment and he put his hands on the keys And his fingers, slowly, as he started playing this Bach tune, started loosening up. And he's playing this tune. And Norman Cousins is like, oh my God, what is happening here? And Pablo Casals turns to Dr. Cousins and says, Bach, he lives in here. He lives in my heart. And as he spoke that, and as he played this piece, his fingers opened up wide. The way he sat straightened up a little bit. And then he moved on to a Brahms piece. And by the time he got into the Brahms piece, he was playing so deftly, so smoothly, so gracefully. His whole life was in this passionate action of playing. So whether your dis-ease is a dis-ease of body or mind or spirit, it matters not. Those old habits, those old beliefs, those old stories, those old rules that you were taught, that you were forced to accept, those fears, those shoulda, woulda, couldas, they all have to go. It's time to try defying gravity, because sometimes it feels like that. I bet you. You ever tried to change a habit? Okay, don't do that anymore. Without real intention, without real involving your entire life and your passions in every cell and emotion and feeling and sense. Without all that, it doesn't work too well, or too quickly at least. So you feel like you're defying gravity. I think I'll try defying gravity, and you can't pull me down. So what I want you to think about, what I want you to do with this information is not just go, oh, isn't that nice? Isn't he funny? I hope you at least say that. Isn't he inspiring? And not just here, but anywhere. Anybody who stands in front of you and teaches you or is there to inspire you, or any piece of music that you listen to. Allow it to embody you. Because it's going to release this story, your old rules. And you feel that. I know you feel that. I know you feel that when you leave here on Sundays, you're inspired, everything's great. Whatever junk's in your life seems to be it's not in the forefront of your consciousness, and that's great, and that's wonderful. But then it kind of goes away. It happens to people a lot when they go to these big workshops, with a couple thousand people, and the energy is fabulous, and you're there for 3 days, and you walk on fire, and all this kind of wonderful stuff, and then you go home and go, wow, that was great. It was worth every penny and every moment I spent there. And do you do anything with this information? Do you do anything with this feeling that you're having, these emotions you're having, this inspiration? Mostly no. It's the taking action now. Take this inspiration, take this passion that you have for whatever, and not only embody it, but take action. You need to join me, because I do it too. Being mindful of all these rules that show up that bring lack into your life, that don't bring love into your life, that mess with your body somehow in your life. Be mindful of those things. It's okay. They've come up, they've happened, you've accepted it. So what? You got 50, 100 years left of your life? 10, 15 years left of your life? That's okay. Now work on it. So those last 15 years, those last 50 years, those next 100 years, by taking action, by being mindful, by affirming over and over again, by connecting this new idea that you have to every part of your body, every emotion you have, every sense you have. Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Take your passions, make them into habits. So if you care to find me, look to the western sky. As someone told me lately, everyone deserves the chance to fly. That's an irrevocable promise, my friends. The universe is constantly there for you to give you the power that you need, which is already inside you. You're just not conscious of it all the time. To step forward, to take action with your passion, with your inspirations. Allow it. It will never go away, this promise. I promise you. I swear to you. That promise will never go away. All you have to do is reach out and grab it. And I don't care how long you've been listening to that rule, how long you've been listening to that rule, how long you've embodied that rule, that power is there for you to grab it, to take action, and be the new you. And nobody, as Stephen Schwartz says, and nobody in all of Oz, no wizard that there is or was, is ever going to bring you down. I live as greatness. I live as greatness. I live as greatness. That's right. Demand it now and be everything that you want to be. Your house, your rules. Namaste. Thank you.